Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to Jim and Rob Overanalyze Movies, the live video podcast where we love to go beyond the review and dig into the craft, the story, and the meaning of the movies we watch today. And of course, we are the home of the best chat on the internet. That's just is. I'm stating that as a simple fact, folks. Today, we are going to be digging into, on our, as usual, our once a month, we take a look at a movie from the 80s or the 90s, once from November 2021, and ask if the film holds up. Tonight, we're going to be looking at that 80s classic, that John Hughes classic, that John Candy classic, Uncle Buck, and asking ourselves, does it hold up? From IMDb, here's the log line. All-round bachelor slob, Buck Russell, babysits his brother's rebellious teenage daughter and her truly adorable little brother and sister. This was directed by John Hughes and written and directed by John Hughes. It stars John Candy, Louisa Kelly, Gaby Hoffmann, Macaulay Culkin, and Amy Madigan. Also stars Jay Underwood, Elaine Bromka, Garrett M. Brown, and truly disturbing turn by Laurie Metcalf. Now, let's get into the social nutrition checklist. Would it have earned a reframe stamp? This 1989 classic would not have earned a reframe stamp. What about, was it union made? As a matter of fact, yes, it was. What about the Bechdel test? In two very brief scenes, it does pass the Bechdel test. And then last but certainly not least, is this a class-conscious film? And I think this might be up for debate in some corners, but from my perspective, although John Hughes did have an interesting view of class, I would argue this is not a class-conscious film. So that gives us a score of 50%, which, all things considered, isn't bad. Now, today we've got, of course, we have my co-host with the most, Mr. Jim Chaboyko, who I suspect right now I've got on mute. Give me a second here, folks, while I get my you-know-what together. And we do also have a guest with us today. We've got Catharine Johansson, becoming a regular guest. So, Jim, Catharine, how are you guys doing?
Good.
Good
to hear. Little under the weather, but nothing that napping all day and medicine won't
hear.
Fix. But yeah.
Well, super jazzed you made it, man.
Yeah.
Catharine, how are you doing? You're also a little under the weather, it seems.
No, I was just tired.
Oh, okay.
But I can make it. I've rallied.
All that talk about those so-called freedom truckers.
Although there was another, there was a nicer display of the Canadian flag this afternoon when the Canadian men's national soccer team beat the Americans 2-0. So that was nicer, a different context, nicer use of the Canadian flag.
Hey, it looks like I've managed to take you out of my image. There we go. You're back.
Oh, there we are.
Because
what are you doing, man?
You know what? I'm doing my best here, folks. I'm doing my best. Listen, before we get going, got a couple of items. One, I do want to shout out to. Let me see if I can't grab. Here we are. Sean Geek and Fast Fret podcast has subscribed to our channel. They actually subscribed a while ago. They're a local podcaster. I've actually been fortunate enough to be a guest. But they subscribed, and I want to shout them out. So, Sean, that again, thanks, Sean Geek and Fast Fret podcast for joining us. And then somebody else, Video Unique Mezzin, also subscribe to the channel. That brings us to where are we at, Jim? That's like 199 subscribers, eh? Not bad.
Yes. Yeah. We're just sort of hovering on the edge. Let's just round it up.
Yeah.
Call it 300.
Yeah.
Give it an extra 100.
Why not?
Call it
What
500.
Yeah.
Let us also, I also want to, we got a few folks in the chat. Why don't we welcome them? And first of all, Jelly Duck 100, Ahmed, good to see you, man. Who else do we have here? We've got Walt, Vlad 65, and 1/3 of the Balmoral Street Research Irregulars. Good to see you too, man. All right. With that in mind, I do want to take this opportunity first to shamelessly beg for a like. If you haven't already, please subscribe. Last but certainly not least, ringy-ding that bell. Now with live sound effects.
There you go.
All right. We also have another thing that we're starting today, you guys. And that is audience mailbag. We did receive an email from one of our subscribers, one of our regulars in the chat.
Wow.
Actually, Vlad65 sent an email, wanted to get his opinion in and out there sooner rather than later regarding the movie we're watching tonight. And although I got up on the screen, I will read it out to you. No. And this is, does he think this movie holds up? And yeah, Vlad65, no, not according to Anne and I, who actually thought it was okay many years ago, except for the chemistry between Candy and Culkin and the usual selection of sax-based R&B music. There wasn't a ton to love this time around in this Candy vehicle. I'd be afraid to watch Only the Lonely again. So there we go. We got our first missive in our very first audience mailbag, our inaugural missive in the inaugural audience mailbag. And so that deserves a huzzah.
Yes. Huzzah.
And then we can disagree with or agree with Walt as the show develops. And that means I think we should, with you, if it's cool with you guys, let's get into the quick review. And Jim, with your permission, I am going to start with you, if that's cool.
Oh yeah, sure. I'm just taking some notes. So let me call up my. I don't want to get too off script because I'll go on for 40 minutes. But
rest
okay.
assured, I'll be shutting that down quite quickly. We got an hour.
There we go. All right. So initially, I thought this would be a mildly entertaining watch. I've seen it a number of times. It's been a few years. But once I got into it, I was surprised by a few things. I was surprised by how low-key it was and how genuine and subtle John Candy came across, and also how funny it was. My family was all asleep, and I was sort of laughing out loud. And you know, people, sometimes you forget what it takes to push that laugh, to make it an out loud laugh, but maybe I was just in the mood for it. I think it was a testament about how John Hughes knew how to use John Candy properly. Story-wise, there's a few inorganic set pieces that, you know, they're just sort of a character that's introduced just for Buck Russell to deal with them, sort of pumping him up a little bit. They were still entertaining. Well, not so much the clown, but we'll talk about that later. I didn't love Laurie Metcalf as sort of kind of a crazy. I guess she was rich. She was wearing like jockey pants at one point, but there was a kind of a sweetness and a genuine tone throughout, and I you know, genuinely thought it was really funny. John Candy, you know, started off in sketch, and I think he seemed relaxed in this, and and confident in the portrayal of Buck Russell. And I think John Hughes was in a good place too, because he was, he was experimenting with camera shots that I really hadn't seen with him too much, the front of the car and the dancing shot. But anyway, I really enjoyed this a lot more than I thought I'd enjoy it, but I enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I would.
Oh, cool. Well, Catherine, let's go to you now. What was your how did you feel about it?
Oh, very similar. Although I thought I remember liking it, and I thought it was
Correct
good.
me if
There
I'm
was
wrong. Do you own the DVD?
I do own the DVD.
Oh, yes.
I absolutely own the DVD. And you had asked, what are the special features? My DVD copy is so old, there are no special features. This was
No
before
way.
that was a thing. I think it was 1998 is the DVD
Okay.
of the
Wow.
1989 movie. Yeah.
You should be happy this is on a digital medium.
It was a reissue.
Give us your $40
world.
and beyond. Be gone.
It's a new world out there. Yep. Yep. So yeah, no, I like it. There's a few scenes that don't fit and don't really have any purpose. But I laughed in a couple of places, and it's very, it is what it is. Good old 80s fun.
You know what, guys? For myself, I echo all your comments. I would add to it what I liked about this, and I think this is as my tastes developed. This was kicking in at around a time when I started to really appreciate a sweetheart. And I think this is just a sweetheart of a film. You're right, Jim. It's got what I like to call a lower arc. It's less intense. It's really just taking one angry teenager who could be a lot of angry teenagers. It's certainly in John Hughes' well-trod upper middle class context. I'll save the rest of my praise and critiques for later in the show. But yeah, I really, really still, I read Walt Vlad 65's email and I was like, yeah, this isn't really the deepest thing. I think in some ways John Hughes is going over ground he's gone over before. But I think, how did you put it, Jim? There's some restraint here, and there's some subtlety in a lower arc, and it's just kind of cool. And John Candy, the same thing. He isn't just big and loud. He lets his size, his natural loudness work for him in a way. And yeah, I'll save praise in every section, and a couple of beefs, but mostly bouquets in every section. So yeah, that I think that kind of covers the quick review, eh? Are we? Do you think we're ready for the spoiler zone?
Oh yeah. Let's reveal all.
Let's go to the spoiler zone.
Oh, is that a new sound effect, Rob?
That is, and it's the wrong sound effect.
Oh no.
Oh no.
The spoiler zone.
There you go.
You might see that other sound effect, folks, later. And it also we might have done a tech thing earlier in the week to make sure that this worked out tonight. And maybe I got into playing with some of with my gizmos. Anyway. All right, where are we? We are in the spoiler zone, and we're getting into craft. Do you guys mind if I kick off this portion?
Go ahead.
Do it.
I will, Catherine. Okay, I want to...
We can't stop you.
I said this when we did 16 Candles, and I'm going to say it again. This is yet another film that shows the 80s was not parachute pants and loud colors. That was a brief thing in the like little brief mini fads. What I really enjoyed, you see Gina Louisa Kelly, who I will praise momentarily, but you see her walk in that very first scene with John Candy, and I know it's 1989, and all I could think of is Hughes. All his films, they were all so effing stylish, even as they were coded for their group. And that look is just killer. It's a killer look now. But yeah, their costuming and everything was never, you kind of see, I mean, of course, affluent 80s. Yeah, that was not the stuff I could afford then, ever. But
Le Chateau.
Listen, I bought a suit from Le Chateau. One of the best and worst decisions of my life. A double-breasted suit, because that was in.
Oh.
Yes, no, I felt quite the millionaire until a year later when it's like, wow, this look is not in, and this stuff is, the suit is falling apart. Anyway, now I'll move on to, and I'll stick with Jean Louisa Kelly for a moment. Her performance, think about her performance up against what was one of the comedy greats of the era. And she can hold her own. Her looks, everything is just perfect. Yeah. It just shows how in the moment she was throughout this film, and how good Hughes was at creating a space where because she was a teenager then. I think she was younger than the 16 she is presented as in the film. How she could just. How he could get what he needed from her, how she could deliver that. And again, yeah, like just in a look, and that cinematography that really knows how to capture the right moment in close up. But yeah, again, going back to that first scene with her and Buck Russell, and how she just walks in and just stares at him. There's like a good minute of her saying squat. Like and again, praise for the direction, praise for the cinematography, and praise for Jean Louisa Kelly. And going back to what you said earlier, Jim, praise for John Candy to not try and fill the space. Mm-hmm. He doesn't try and take up that space. Like everybody gets what they're trying to do in the scene, and I think it's a microcosm of the wonderful craft we see in the rest of the movie. The kids are adorable, but not like we get just enough of them. Everything is just, the craft is so, you really see Candy, or not just Candy, you see Hughes at his just relaxed best. It's like, I know what I'm doing. Don't worry, I got this. I wrote this. I know all these people. I can get this. And up to that point, guys, I don't think this is probably the biggest star he directed in any of his films of the 80s. Like, I mean, the rest were kids, and even as they became known, they were still his, proteges, and all of a sudden he's got a star, and it's still, everyone gets what they're there for. Mwah. Mm-hmm. There you go. Yeah. So, what do you think, Catherine?
Okay, there we go. Seamless.
This is
well done. No, I agree. Yeah, like it's John Candy is a great Buck Russell. It's well put together.
What a perfect name, eh? Buck Russell.
Yes. Yeah. No, it's like you said, the that first scene where she says nothing, and it's it's good.
Yeah, and again, that style, the costuming, everything's working.
Yeah.
What did you think of the music cues? Because that's another thing that I think is a Hughes sort of a Hughes thing, not just in the soundtrack, but in the music cues he uses for particular, just some of that mix of the sax R&B, but also the, again, still pop 80s, hip pop 80s.
Yeah. Well, the Funky
Yeah,
Medina, wasn't that playing at the party? Funky Cold Medina was playing at the party or something? I
Yeah.
think that
at the
was it.
party, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that was a good touch. That was a good touch.
Yeah, my music tastes were never as cool as when I was watching a John Hughes movie. It's like, oh my goodness, you mean that's a thing? Wow.
Yeah.
How come we not hearing that on Winnipeg radio?
Exactly.
Jim,
Yeah.
what's your take on the craft?
Yeah, there was I like a lot of I like the way I haven't watched, to properly comment on John Hughes's filmmaking and how it changed over the years, you would have to watch them chronologically back to back to back to back. But it seems to me here he's there's almost a more and it is Uncle Buck, so it sounds a little bit silly saying this, but there's a little bit more of an artful approach. Yeah, they use John Candy's size really well. In the first few shots of him being in the home, he's sort of superimposed on top of this, perfectly clean house. He's framed in doorways.
Yeah.
There's the shot when he's shooting the golf balls at the young punk Bug, and you just see him in silhouette, right? And he's got a smoke, and he's got his golf club, and so and maybe this is a sign of somebody who's
cigarillos as
cigarillos,
a
yes,
step,
the big long one, yeah. This is part of his
and then
20-year plan or whatever.
To a pipe. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. But no, it's okay. But I thought, well, that's kind of an interesting shot of John Candy. There were a number of cases where any plain old shot would have done, but there was actually kind of a little bit of a craft to it, I think. John Candy, from the first scene when him and his girlfriend are in the restaurant, I thought it was almost like there's a Marilyn documentary on CNN right now that they sort of replay, and there's a couple moments where she lets that Marilyn mask slip, and there's a couple moments here where I think the John Candy mask, the one that you're used to, slips a little bit, and I thought, boy, this looks like the real guy. He's playing. Take away the clothing, take away the rusty car, and you'd have probably the most relaxed, the subtlest John Candy character, maybe in his oeuvre. There's a couple, he's flying through the air when he gets hit by a kitchen door and things like that. That's not particularly subtle. But the way he approached this was very, low-key sounds like an admonishment, but it's not. It's just, like, it seems like a very, just a very subtle approach to this big slobby character. It speaks to, I think, where like I said earlier, I think both him and John Hughes were in a good place at this time. It's not, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. The question that we had, is this John Candy's best? I think Planes, Trains, and Automobiles would probably be the best, but this one's up there, I think.
That's a great point, Jim. What for this? I'm putting this out to all of you guys, to both you guys. Was this his? Again, he's the big guy, big comedy star. Here he is. He's maybe not the straight man, but boy, he lets the other performers, whether they were a good scene or not. We'll talk about that later. But Laurie Metcalf. I can't remember the character who played Pooter the Clown.
Mike Starr, actually.
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah. I looked that up.
Roger Cos, like pal, like he well, big and imposing, and they are the ones doing the shtick
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's almost like he's like, no, I did SCTV. You guys can do the shtick. Did you guys see the same thing, or am I crazy?
No, I think I'm. Yeah, I mean, they're allowed to be the ridiculous ones in a strange way. He's you know, at times he's maybe a bit of a straight man, which seems weird and counterintuitive to say, but depending on the scene, of course.
Especially with this movie, like he
Yeah.
is Uncle Buck. What did you Catherine? What did you think? Like,
Oh yeah, no, I think you're right on that. On him. Yeah, just you know, being there, being himself, and letting it happen. Yeah.
all right. Well, you know what? On that note, what I'm going to do then is anything you wanted to add on Craft or
A couple of things. I agree with you about the Tia character. You know, and she did. I mean, she got second billing, right? Which they had bigger. You know, Amy Madigan had made, I think, the baseball picture with Kevin Costner at that point. So she was probably
a little known film called The Field of Dreams.
Thank you. It's my aging mind. I couldn't even think of that right now. But I thought there were, and this goes to story. I thought there were a few too many shots of her.
With a couple of other newcomers like James Earl Jones and
yeah, exactly.
Gaby Hoffmann being adorable.
Yeah, you know, the kids were good, and I'm really tired, whether it's young Sheldon or this new Mark Crit show on CBC of the precocious young kid. And Macaulay Culkin's role is a little bit like that, but they veer away. Like he's got the adult qualities, but he's not that sort of obnoxious precocious. He'll say a few things, like when they're kissing and he says, don't they know it's flu season? You know, that kind of thing. And but they're both used to great effect, almost in a stealthy way. But anyway, but I
even that can be like that high. I even read that line as a kid. It's like, it's flu season, you know, like just a kid who's wound a little tight, not so much being an adult, but
reacting to the
and even the dog is good.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you thought so? Yeah.
Well, yeah. That's a great point, Catherine. Now, is that because, like Macaulay Culkin, Gaby Hoffmann, they're in just enough of this film, and they are used in some ways just to provide a little bit of extra reaction, but they are not overused. Like that may go down. The scene where Macaulay Culkin, how many consecutive questions, maybe one of the best scenes he was ever in as a child actor. You know, and another one where Candy is letting the kid be the star of it. Like, yeah.
That little sleeping sequence too, shot from above. That was very.
Oh
beautiful.
yeah.
But but aside from that, I think that maybe, and this might go to story, but a few too many shots of Tia giving the stink eye to everyone. But that's not on her. That's more of a story sort of direction choice. So.
Oh, better unmute myself, folks.
Uh-oh.
We've got. It is time to move on, but before we do, I want to note we've got a few more folks in the chat. First of all, let us welcome back Richard L. and Katie Fowler. We have the whole Balmoral Street Research regulars now in the chat.
There you go.
And just chimed in is Dragon Movie Guy.
DMG.
Yes, DMG. I was hoping to have him join us tonight, but given it's like, this is, you know what, I'm right at the edge of my, like, we're testing out technology. We're making things work. This is working out, but it's like, this is going to blow up in my face if I add one more complication. But I do want to highlight DMG will be with us next week, where he will share a bit of his what has become a monthly thing on our channel, his look at next month. Of course, it will already be a week into next month, it is what it is. But great to see you here, DMG.
And DMG, I'd like to apologize for the Canada win over the American soccer team today.
Wow.
Anyway.
Somebody, some team was playing out of its boots. All right, moving. Let's take a quick scan before we move forward, guys. Let's take a quick scan of the chat. I just want to grab a couple of comments here. Walt, and Lucia Carney.
Oh no.
VOR.NGO. We are so close to making it, Jim. We can just get some real, not just a spam bot. I don't want a bot. I want a real jerk in the chat so I can go, wow, we have made it. Idiots are showing up. All right. Vlad has got a couple comments I wanted to raise. He says, there was something about watching it on a fairly big TV this time. The many scenes with Jean Louisa Kelly being endlessly unpleasant got wearisome. I'm going to talk about that a bit more when we get into story. He does go on. Candy's performance was wonderful, but there were some nasty things about Buck that got papered over because it was Candy, which I suspect we'll all talk about later in the film, especially in the story, etc. Katie Fowler, Richard L. also wishing VOR.NG to everyone. Katie does. Katie agrees. The soundtrack was awesome. Culkin was impressive. Loved the Q&A scene. How could you not love the Q&A scene? And then DMG says, Daniel Stern and Joe Pesci come up yet? Oh, my sides. My sides. All right. DMG, love Jean Louisa Kelly in this flick. I can't believe she didn't have a bigger career. Mr. Holland's Opus. Then but she had that CBS sitcom. Who knows? But it's just like, I got lots of money. I'm fine. Hollywood sucks.
Yeah.
Too many
you
producers
never know, right?
hitting on me.
Yeah.
I'm cashing in my chips. Okay, so we are, oh my goodness, now we have a Russian bot wishing us a VYN.FYI. So close to hitting the big time, Jim. All right, let's move forward. Let's talk about the story, everybody. Catherine, why don't you start us off on story? What worked for you? What didn't work for you?
Well, I mean, come on. It's like you have this guy and he won't get married and settle down and have kids and live in the suburbs and be heteronormative. So how can he see the errors of his ways? Oh, show him some cute kids that touch his heart.
Okay. I'm going to put a pin in that because that's a thematic criticism that I think is valid and would love to dig into. But let's talk about the story. You had mentioned there's some scenes that seem out of place. Why not start there?
Oh, I just thought the thing with the teacher, like, why was that even there? It was just him being a horrible person. It didn't really match anything.
Doesn't fit the character or
there's no point to it.
How does it advance the plot?
Exactly. Like there's no point to it whatsoever. So
do you think, Catherine, in that scene, are we missing something that was on the cutting room floor? Maybe some kind of they did have a brief little bit where she was being adorable and then the teacher suddenly became blasphemer, which seemed also
that was
why
weird.
Are we here?
Yeah, like what is happening here? It's very
we barely see we don't see Macaulay. What was Miles and Maisie. We don't see Miles interacting with his friends much except at his birthday briefly. yeah, it sort of, whoa, what's going on here? Anything else as far as the story goes? Like structure?
No, I thought it
anything?
was,
Otherwise,
like
pretty
there
generic?
was a. Sorry?
There's a genericness to the story. Maybe.
Absolutely.
Like, I mean,
Yeah.
it's, yeah. A trope. He sees the error of his ways. You're absolutely.
Yeah. And then, he has his great moral dilemma. Do I take the kids to the racetrack, or do I actually go and rescue my niece from Bug? And will he choose the right path? Yay, he chooses the right path. That's great. So,
Do you think, back to the racetrack, I can kind of get why, for just narrative, just to keep the story moving, because it's barely about the other stuff. It really is his relationship with Tia that provides all the most of the dramatic tension. But I got to admit, there's a bit of me who's like, kind of, I don't know about you guys, but it'd be really nice if the kids went to the track, especially the dog track. It's not even. Oh no, it was horses. That's right. So because that was like the colorful people and the horses.
Yeah.
Like, it would have been just kind of, what the hell? Let's have a. I mean, geez, we went to the bowling alley. Why can't we go to the horse track?
Yeah.
And why? Because Tia wouldn't be there, and then it's.
That's right. You can't, because he has to turn his life around, and he has to show to Shanice that he's not the guy that would take the kids to the horse track anymore.
He's a responsible man. Or he
That's
can
right.
be
He's becoming a family man.
A man worthy of.
That's right.
All right. Well, Jim, let's go to you on this one.
Sure. Well,
chime in. Take it away, Jim.
The Pooter the Clown episode, because that's sort of what it is, and the assistant principal episode, those are two things that are kind of parachuted into the middle. I guess, they wanted to have John Candy at the kid's school. So, of course, he walks in with a lit cigarette, and he has to go to the bathroom. I thought one of the
Cigarello.
Cigarello, thank you. One of the funniest sequences when he was trying to use the little kids' urinals. Yeah. I was sort of laugh crying at that one. That was a great bit of physical comedy and just his sort of uncomfortableness, right? So that was all part of that whole getting him in the school to talk to the assistant principal. But there was no lead up to it. These scenes were sort of parachuted in. That sometimes works, it sometimes doesn't. It's a set piece, right? Like out of Beverly Hills Cop or something. You drop somebody into a situation that lets them sort of do something comedically heroic, right? Yeah. And that's what he was doing with the assistant principal, although he was mean about it. He was basically being the mama bear, right? In a sense, that gave him the opportunity. This is how he would stick up for his blood.
You're right. Yeah, there is actually a narrative purpose to these scenes in that it's revealing character. Yes, it's not really moving the plot forward, but yeah, you know what? I'll take some of my criticism of these scenes back, because you're right. Like, at least it reveals his character.
They could have been integrated.
A part of it we didn't necessarily want to see, but
And the set piece is a big part of these kinds of movies. But my problem is it wasn't integrated. It just sort of appeared there. One little pleasant vignette in the middle of it that, my wife and I love this movie, but one of the neat ones is like, hey, who let the cat out, as he is going to retrieve the cat. And we're cat owners, of course. And they bring the cat in, and this is one of the stealth ways that they use the kids, and not too much. You just see the front of the house. They don't show the kids. He goes, hey, it's all voice. Hey, who let the cat out? We don't have a cat. Oh, get out, shoo, shoo. Getting this strange being out of the house. That's just a nice little comedic, nice warm moment there, I thought. But so there's some aspects of
and also
story
emphasizes the fish out of water kind of trope that they're playing with.
Yeah. But there's other things that are, and there's a pattern, and I think it's on purpose. And you mentioned it, Catherine, is that these things aren't acted upon. Like for me, the racetrack is not quite a fireworks factory moment from The Simpsons, where you build up this trip to the racetrack, which might have been hilarious. But they this is the kind of guy that Buck has become, steering away from that kind of thing. The other one that I thought too is when he's driving around looking for Tia at the party. Hey, your car's on fire. And I thought, here it goes. This is going to be all kinds of comedy. And he just ends up talking to him, asking where the party was. And there was another one too that I was just going to mention, and as he
becomes more the father figure.
Yeah. And so there's those things that aren't expounded upon that maybe 5 years later, if John Hughes was trying, that they might have taken advantage of. So yeah, another thing here is another aspect of restraint for Buck as a character there. Mm-hmm. And that was kind of an interesting thing, I thought, as well. Having said that, there's one aspect of it too that I suspect Walt was talking about, or Vlad 65. He basically kidnaps a teenage boy. That's just like O.J. Simpson got thrown in jail for, among other things, taking one person from one room and putting him in another. I mean, that's the definition of kidnapping. So in that state, the state of Nevada. But anyway, so that was. But these things you overlook. Really, it's all in the purposes of comedy. Yeah. And also, chopping golf balls at somebody could be classified as assault, I think, and you could really do some damage to people. But anyhow,
looked like a bug got hurt.
And you got a couple headshots too.
For myself, guys, I think the one, and I want to go. It was a comment in the chat. I think it was Vlad who made it, but I'm sure other people may have felt this way. And I did think this. Gina Louisa Kelly is playing the angry teenager, the permanently angry teenager, and rightly so. And we wouldn't like her if the movie, we're not supposed to like her. We're supposed to see that she's in pain, that we can empathize with her, but I think we do need to see her change. Buck's changes, there's Buck's change as well, but I think that she is Buck's antagonist. Mm-hmm. She is the stumbling block, the obstacle, and her being that snotty teen pill, the socially aggressive. I think it just shows John Hughes' understanding of teenagers and how they express their anger, how women, teen girls are allowed to. What are they allowed to do? It's the cutting remark. It's not they don't get to be physically violent, except if it's with their younger siblings, because she had no problem handling them. But I do think that she has to be that pill. She is the rock. Buck is the water. And how are you going to take that edge off? If she was any less of a pill, he wouldn't have enough to fight against for the movie to work out. So there's my defense of that story choice to make her that pill. But otherwise, that's about all I have to say to that.
There was one other. I remembered what the restraint was. There was a really nice little scene where Buck is going over the wedding photos, and he takes out one from the photo album and realizes that he's been he's been folded away. He's been hidden, almost cut out, and he unveils it. Yeah. And that's it. Like, he reacts to it. He's saddened by it. But it doesn't come up again. He doesn't confront the sister-in-law about it. It's there, right? It's part of their history. and then an indication of what the sister-in-law, amongst other cues,
we got to
what the
move on.
sister-in-law thinks of him. Yeah.
We got to move on to the meaning, and I want to come back to Catherine here, to go back to the heart of that. Some of the tropes that are being leaned into in this, let's say, part of the film that may not hold up so well. Yeah, Catherine, take it away.
I think it holds up. That's still the dream.
Still the question.
I mean,
yeah.
Who knows? Like, no one can buy a house anymore, so maybe not. Especially not houses like that, right? It's not.
Oh, it's a fantasy upper middle class. Well, I shouldn't say like very much John Hughes's upbringing.
Yeah.
That
Park,
was
Evanston.
Yeah.
And at the same time, I think the family did go through some hard times where he was poor in that environment, which sort of explains some of his other films, Some Kind of Wonderful, and boy, we could do a whole evening on just John Hughes, his oeuvre. But what going back to it, Catherine, what you're talking about. When you say maybe it does hold up, is that just in many, as we see in television and film now, it's still sort of when will this man-child grow up?
Yes. Yeah. So there's that, and there's also the family aspect of it, right? Because it's like, it's not, that's universal. People want to be part of something. They want to be part of a family. And like Jim was saying about the picture, like that was a very powerful scene where he saw that he had been cut out of his family. And that's how it's resolved in the end, is they become a family again. He's reintegrated into them, and he becomes,
and he's accepted.
And part of that is he's able to be reintegrated because he changes from the man child into, now he could actually get married and have kids and be responsible. Therefore, he has value and he should be part of our clan, right? So,
there was an early scene where he, there's the big character guys. The big slob, the man child, the forever not wanting a regular job, the how did you put it earlier, Catherine? The heteronormative, this is what men are supposed to do. I do think, though, and notwithstanding the overt scene we saw at the end, he was, in many respects, emotionally intelligent from the get-go. The way he manages Tia, in that he's like, okay, but he asks her. He's like, is there a reason you're giving me a hard time? He demonstrates immediately, regardless of anything. He's not fumbling with, he can't operate a washing machine.
Yeah,
but he's immediately responsible. He immediately is emotionally intelligent enough to get where she's coming from, and never bites. At the same time, kind of going, I know what you're doing and I don't like it, but he's not overwhelmed by it. He's not, oh my goodness, I'm pulling out my hair. Yeah. He only reaches out to Shanice, when he's like, I need another responsible adult here while I go deal with this thing. So, what do you...
And he's also, you have this like perfect family that leaves their kid for his birthday. Both of them leave. So the little guy is going to have his birthday without his parents. Like, that's completely ridiculous. And so Buck actually, he steps up and he makes these huge pancakes to try to make the kid's birthday memorable in a good way, not in, oh, my parents ditched me and left me with some guy I don't even know on my birthday,
Do
right?
I have an
Both
Uncle
of
Buck?
them. Like what?
With the entire
sense.
pound of butter on top of the.
Yeah.
Well, and this is, you're absolutely right, Catherine. And that's kind of where I think this is a more subtle movie in what it's communicating than even I gave it credit for until, watching it again and us talking about it. And it's like, it was that it's like, he's actually more without being because sometimes what they'll do with that character is talk about, well, he's more real because he's of the streets or some BS, right? Like they don't do that. It's just him, that he is totally human. They don't provide any magical why he's why he knows what's going on or anything. I would actually, in parts, just say that's an uncle thing. The buttons aren't there for a kid to push like they can push on their parents. I felt the sting like when the mom jumps after. I'd have a heart attack too. I'd want to die too if everyone left me. And then she slams the door, and the way the mother's just sort of jumps, and it's like, yeah, I'm feeling you, lady. But yeah, I think he's trying to communicate more. What, Jim? What where are you coming from meaning wise on this flick?
Meaning wise, maybe I should rethink. Train horn.
Cool.
Maybe I should
all part of the color. I
There
wish
you
we
go.
had some reason to. The train says we should.
I gotta go. My train's here. Maybe I should rethink the whole assistant principal thing, because this, Buck is in the space of time here. Buck is maturing. He's making these decisions. Doesn't go to the racetrack. He decides to be responsible with the kids. And so when he talks to the principal, when they have whatever conflict that they have, he's basically arguing for being with a silly heart and being a dreamer. Mm-hmm. Most of this movie is about maturity and maturing and the process of maturing. Perhaps that scene is that while you can mature, you don't have to do it in a rigorous, robotic way, perhaps. Maybe I'm reading into that, but this whole thing seems to be pointing...
No, I think that's a great point, Jim.
...towards just because you're maturing doesn't mean you have to lose who you are, I think. You can mature. It's expected of you, in fact.
Yeah.
I think maybe that's another reason that scene was included, and probably some of the lead up to it was left on the floor there. But
there might be little bridge scenes, but then they're like, oh, that's just us moving from A to B. The TV writers call it shoe leather scenes. It's like, why are we doing this? It's just
tight 95.
Yeah.
Without credits. So.
And it was a tight 95. Okay, guys, we should move on. We've only got like 5 minutes left, but I did want to, there's some comments in the chat I want to highlight. And one of them was from Vlad65. He's asking the question, and love to get your guys' take. But he says, where are we here? Bear with me here. Walt, did you buy, in caps, buy the entire transformation of the daughter due to one rescue scene? Yeah, I was good with it. You know what? It's possible for a kid to just kind of go, oh, I may have to crack on this one. And at least this guy's coming to get me and isn't holding it against me. But what did you think, Catherine? Were you buying that?
Yeah, I think so, because it was sort of like he told her this bug dude is a douchebag and you're going to see it for yourself. And then when she did, that was something that made her rethink, right? So
when I also think it helped that in that moment, I just want to get you home. He's not told you so.
Yeah.
There's no big long lecture, Jim, what did you think? Were you buying it?
Well, for expediency,
Tight 95.
maybe Tight 95. Come on, kid. Embrace your uncle. We got 3 minutes left. But, I could see that if only because it was about sexual assault, and that he was there to.
Yeah.
I mean, he did rescue her, but he rescued her from. I mean, he didn't go into the party and take her out, but he was there for her.
Yeah.
And she was judgmental with her parents. Maybe he had an approach that the parents didn't have, and maybe it took her this to realize it. I mean, she gets into the car, and then it gradually they have a chat, and that's probably the most important conversation of the movie, is that she's aware that he's on her side as well. That it doesn't have to be a conflict there.
Okay.
And that he is different than his her parents.
I'm gonna okay, we gotta now move on into the next Jim, take it away. What are we watching next week? Because we got to wrap this up now.
Sure. We're watching the Halle Berry movie Moonfall, which is apparently all over the place. She was on the talk shows this week and chatting it up, so I don't know anything about it. Something to do with condos on the moon, somebody was mentioning. But anyway, that was
space. Folks, I think this is going to be this year's Space Sweepers. And for those of you who remember that that awesome movie about space garbage people.
Space garbage people.
It was about space garbage people. They swept the space of garbage, of trash. Yes. Space trash people. Space waste workers.
I should watch that again.
Yeah, it was an awesome, ridiculous flick. Let's hope this has that Korean sensibility. It is not a Korean film, but it has that Korean sensibility of we're making a movie about space garbage men. Let's not take ourselves too seriously here. Okay.
We should watch science fiction movies from every country on the earth.
You're absolutely right, Jim. All right, folks, so that we are going to be watching that next week at we're going to watch that. It's come in theaters this Friday, February 4th. Jim and I will, of course, go watch. Hopefully we'll do a parking lot reaction. And then, of course, at 9:45 p.m. Central Standard Time, a Sunday, February 6th, we'll be back to do another episode. And we're going to have another guest. DMG will be with us next week. Okay, guys, first of all, are we giving John Hughes a pass? Did this film hold up? Jim, you go first.
Yeah, I think so.
Catherine.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah. I'm with, I have the same amount of enthusiasm as Catherine does. Absolutely. All right. Final, and when I say thoughts, I mean thought. Catherine, anything you wanted to add before we thank our wonderful chat, the best chat on the internet, and move on with our lives?
No, it's good. We covered it.
Jim.
I was thinking, and not to end it on a Debbie Downer, but neither John Hughes or John Candy made it to 60. Isn't that amazing? Like it makes you appreciate them. Their output is finite.
A solid body of work.
Yeah.
Especially given. Although, mind you, it looked like John Hughes had when I'm checking out, I've cashed out. Perhaps without as many producers hitting on him. Or worse, heaven forbid. All right, on that note, everyone, let's say goodbye to the best chat on the internet. First we have, Richard L. Good to see you, man. Katie Fowler, you as well. Thank you both for making it tonight. Walt, Vlad65. Thanks for being the first of what will hopefully be a regular feature. And if you did want to email the show, you can find it, the email on the About page. It's rob.christensen@gmail.com, but you can find the email on the About page on the channel. DMG, great to see you here tonight. Thank you very much. And we'll, of course, see you back on the show next week. And then I think last but certainly not least, our man in Kuwait City, Ahmed, Jellyfish 100. Not just Jellyfish 99, Jellyfish
Jelly Duck.
Jelly Duck. Thank you. Sorry.
There's probably a jellyfish out there, though, so that, you know.
I suspect. But there's only one Jelly Duck 100.
There is.
And that's our guy, our man in Kuwait City, Ahmed. Great to see you here. I think that's about it, folks. I'm going to now, we're going to hit the stop streaming button. We're just going to wave goodbye. Bye-bye, everybody. Hopefully there'll be a